Yes, we're back.
Yes.
We're live.
Look, boy, they all look older, don't they?
They do.
It's been 4 weeks since we see
Oh, my
all of
goodness.
you at home, the thousands of you that are tuning in right now.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Mayor's Update. Of course, Grayden was away, continents away.
Oh, my goodness. One or two?
Yeah,
Or
and
three or four?
I had a week in Mexico, but mostly I was here going, I wonder if we can find Grayden tonight. Oh, no, blimey, he's got some sort of live spider or something.
You won't believe it, but the internet is worse in Australia than it is in Canada.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
It's shocking to me.
It has to do with the tilt of the earth. No,
Something like that, that transition. Live streams just did not work well. If you heard the one episode, you could hear the echo from the one side of the earth to the other.
Right. Yeah, we heard it come all the way here because everything was repeated 4 or 5 times. Well, welcome back to Mayor's Update. Please, we know you're 3 or 4 weeks behind on questions, so do not hesitate to start asking us stuff right from the beginning. We got a few things we want to cover, and
we got lots of stuff.
Big stuff has happened in the last 4 weeks.
So make sure you get your questions in soon so we have time to answer them, because usually what happens is they'll come in at the end, and we've been going longer, but we've been getting in trouble because we also broadcast on Rogers.
Right.
And so hello to our Rogers viewers.
Yes.
We love you. And we're going to make sure we keep it short so that everything gets in within for them, because otherwise content gets cut for them.
The show looks goofy if it's longer than a half hour and they only give us a half hour. Yeah. We don't know what part they take out, but it's not usually one that looks good. So, but thank you, Rogers. You're doing excellent work with us. So
you just booked it back from Toronto.
I just got back into town this afternoon from 2 days or 3 days in Toronto at ROMA, the Rural Ontario Municipalities Association. St. Thomas is now in this really unique place where we're a member of ROMA, Rural Ontario Municipalities, because St. Thomas always has been a good agricultural place. We are at AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, which is the other cities in Ontario. And St. Thomas just this year has now also joined the federal FCM, Federal Committee of Municipalities, or the big city mayors is what they call those. And that's not to do with Joe's size. That's to do with as we grow and we become a bigger city, we get to be one of the more major cities. So now we're kind of doing it across the spectrum. So we're going to talk a little bit about AMO and perfect. And we've got Margaret. Thank you for joining in, and it's great to see you or hear from you again. So let me give you some really quick stuff. The neat things that happens at AMO is there's lots of plenaries and workshops you could that city administrators and mayors can go to. But mostly there's a great speech by the premier, the leaders of each of the opposition parties. There's a bear pit session where I think yesterday was over 21 ministers.
What's a bear pit?
Well, they go up there and there's live microphones and you can go up and ask any minister. So
there's no bears. This isn't like Russia.
Bears. No, although it's the rural municipalities of Ontario, no wild animals whatsoever.
Okay.
But later on in this show, we're going to talk about a wild animal right here.
Stay tuned.
Thomas.
This is going to be really good.
There's a tease. We brought one up. But the other thing you get to do is go make presentations to individual ministers. Now, St. Thomas right now is fairly popular in the province. And so we asked for 5 ministers and got 5 ministers, and the biggest and the best. So our first meeting was with Minister Calandra, the Minister of Housing. And I think that one was easy because we have the Associate Minister of Housing, his assistant, who's our Member of Parliament, Rob Flack. And Rob sat in on the meeting too. But I want to tell you, the biggest conversation we had there was how do we move forward as fast as we can with Tiny Hope. Minister Calandra was extremely interested in the project and what we're doing. And so is, of course, Minister Flack has always been. So we're moving forward talking about that.
Excellent.
We know that we're not done with housing here in St. Thomas, certainly not supportive housing. So we talked a fair bit about Indwell and the next project in St. Thomas and the next project in St. Thomas and a couple beyond that. So it was really a great meeting with Minister Calandra, who I served with in Ottawa. So we're old friends. And so it's fun to do it, right? It's fun to run into some of our old friends. We also met with the Minister of the Environment. We're still talking a lot about how communities our size have lots of empty land, but it's spoiled. It's brown fields. And she's getting it too, and really did suggest we talk further with the federal government. But on our behalf, she will too. We're really trying to make that work. We can get some of the land in St. Thomas that's sitting there empty right now in a lot better shape if we can make the ground cleaner. And it's getting better and easier to do. Some of the companies working in our community right now are really looking at that too. We also met with the Minister of Education. We're growing at such a huge rate. There's two pieces that the Minister of Education has to deal with that we said we need help. Now, I did not know this. Minister Lecce did share with us that Bill 98 passed. Now, what Bill 98 does is it requires your local school boards, in our case, Thames Valley District School Board and the London Catholic School Board, to discuss with municipality their plans going forward.
Isn't that a great concept?
Oh, geez. Well, and why wouldn't that be happening?
That didn't happen.
It's not been happening well. We've been reaching out as much as we can with the growth of St. Thomas, but the one gap in growth has been, when are we getting our next schools? Where would they be? Where should we set land aside? How can we do it?
Like even when I was going to elementary school, that's when the portables started, right? There's
Right.
portable after portable after portable.
Right. Well, and we have a school right now in town with 14 portables that has a construction going on that will be 8 classrooms.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the wisdom of 14 portables out in the yard, and let's build 8?
They should have gone back to math class.
You would think
Spend a
the
little more
basics
time
in
there.
math. Anyway,
These are the teachers? No,
yeah, this is what we are most concentrated on, and the minister is helping us even with some legislation to move it forward. The second side of his that you don't often think about is early childhood education.
Yeah.
Is part of the Minister of Education's job, role also. And we said, we've built a great new childcare center, and it isn't full yet because the YMCA runs this childcare, and they're not yet where they've staffed up. They can't find the people they need to staff up. And we said, Minister, you've got to help all of us. This is across Ontario. If we're going to move the economy and create, Minister, your government created 700,000 jobs so far in its mandate. Many of those people need childcare in order to go to work in the morning. So help us out.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yep. We are looking at, that's the early childhood stuff. Great. We also spoke with, I read the right page, Sylvia Jones. Does anybody know who Sylvia Jones is? She's the Minister of Health. And a good friend, and we had a great chat about 2 things for St. Thomas that we've been working really hard on. We have an exceptional group of committee group that includes our city manager and Lori Baldwin-Sands and Tara McCauley, and across the county, a number of others. Right. About physician recruitment, about how do we get more family docs back in, and not only family docs, but we start there, and what other specialists are the hospitals looking for, and how can the minister help us do that? Well, she was pretty blunt with me. She said, Joe, I know what you're saying. And every medical school in Ontario, we've added a minimum of 20 new seats, 20 new places to train doctors, and the bigger ones have 50 more starting this year. So, I mean, add that up, and it's 100 more doctors or 200 more doctors in Ontario.
What about the foreign doctors that are coming to Canada and their credentials?
Yep, we talked about that too, but we said, let's first start training more of what we're already doing. We train out pretty good doctors. And then we said,
some of the best in the world, but the timeline.
Well, it takes 8 years to train a doc. So but you got to start someday. And so this is the day they started. It wasn't being done. So let's get going. But we also talked about what you said. There's lots of trained doctors around the world, and many of them Canadians who have gone off to other medical schools.
Because they couldn't get a seat in the Canadian school.
Right. Because there wasn't enough seats in the Canadian school.
Or someone else was paying more.
We'll add that. But we need to more quickly recognize their skills and credentials. And what else Minister Jones reminded us they've done is they've turned many things to other levels. I give the example of the pharmacists that are now allowed to even write prescriptions for minor ailments to keep people out of ERs. Fantastic plan.
Super important.
They're now moving forward where nurses, RNs, will also be able to do that. So the nurse in your doctor's office you may not have to see your doctor depending on the severity in order to get a prescription. So that's the next step. That legislation is now coming into place. And so we'll start to see other places where we can be getting medical help. But let's get docs trained, and that's what you said. We also shared on behalf of the CMHA here in St. Thomas, the Canadian Mental Health Association. We thanked Minister Jones for her role in adding the medical side to supportive housing. Supportive housing in our case doesn't work if there isn't 24-hour mental health, and so there's a billing to the health minister for that, because we don't. The city doesn't. We can build the housing, but we can't supply the health care. So she's already doing that in spades and understands what Indwell does at companies or groups like Indwell and how it works. But we're also, on behalf of the Canadian Mental Health Association, went and spoke to the minister about more detox, rehab, and crisis mental health beds. And she said, I love the numbers you're showing on the one. They already did Fund 7. We're showing like 300 a month or something.
And a lot of people don't know that's happening in St. Thomas.
No,
right
we're
now.
already doing it. And there's a place now to do it. But we want more. We want it more effective. And we want some mental health crisis beds. So Minister Jones was listening. We got there. That was a fun ROMA. We had a meeting this morning with Hydro One about increasing electricity, and we're going to share more with you next week on that show. There's some really neat things coming in about new electricity for St. Thomas, and we'll talk about it then.
And there's some hints to that in the Beehive episodes, which
Yes.
are continuing production. I was just out on the site today.
What an ugly
shots.
day to be out doing Beehive.
It was a bit rough, a bit grim.
We've been out on that site when it's cold, though, haven't we?
A little. It wasn't even as cold as that. Now that day when we were there for the press release,
right?
That was
as cold as it gets,
yeah.
right? What do we got? Any questions in here yet?
I just have a question in from Beth Douglas. What is happening about more young people being accepted into trade schools? Another issue that is that there are not enough apprenticeships. The shortage is impacting our city's growth too.
Yeah, extremely true, Beth, and it's being attacked very well. And this is one where the local school board's really listening. We're really now into pre-apprenticeship classes, even in grade 7, grade 8. That's really helping. And then as we go through high school, there's even more trades now than. Well, not more than when there once was. Perhaps when you and I went to school, or I went to school, and then many years later you went.
They were not like when I was at school. They were saying they were heavily against the trades in general.
Now they've come back again, and there's a lot more happening. Plus, most of the skilled trades at this post-secondaries at Fanshawe, for example, have really been much more open, more seats in those classes, and a better tuition situation. Happening, as Minister Jones shared with us on nursing. We're seeing a real reduction in tuition for people wanting to become a nurse or a nurse practitioner or a paramedic. And so, great. These are the way we get young kids into our trades. Those are all trades, but some of them more. I saw just before Christmas, Doug Terry put out a whole. If you were in the trades, here's what you'd be earning today, and here's what you would be earning if you're not.
I tell you what, I'd be making a lot more money if I'd started into the trades.
Yeah, if only I'd learned if I'd kept learning how to weld.
Oh my goodness. Do some
who needs a welding mayor? But there are people out there who need
relationships.
So we continue to lean heavily, certainly here in St. Thomas, and in talking about Fanshawe and their help to us in the PowerCo situation on the training up the skilled trades that will be needed to work in our battery plant.
We should tie that into the ECE education at Fanshawe as well, because you can take courses, you can get financial assistance
for our early childhood and the creation of private daycares. If you take a great early childhood education certificate and then open your own daycare,
and then there's supports through the whole system. You need to take a day off. They'll come in. They'll have somebody who can replace you while you're there.
Work so that it isn't your 24/7 running your own company. No, right? It's fantastic, though, but it is. You want to be your own boss. There's another way. Your private daycare situation is huge with supports and helps from economic development and hiring and all the rest. So perfect.
They'll find the kids for you as well. They have a whole list. You open up your daycare, you can fill it up. I'm pretty sure almost immediately.
Feels like we're going pretty fast, but that was 15 minutes.
That was a lot of information in that 15 minutes.
Was everybody taking notes? There'll be an exam at the end. No.
How many ministers? 5.
Right. 5 ministers plus Hydro One. So, really, and that doesn't nearly count all the ministers that we spoke to individually. Those are the ones in the sessions. As Gary Clark and Jim Herbert went with us down to ROMA this week. And so as we wandered the halls, many times we missed a workshop we wanted to go to because we ran into another minister or even mayors from other communities, where we would stop and say, hey, what are you working on? I hear you're doing something really good with housing. And so, these are just as much networking as they are learning. And so we met, I don't know, probably 10 more ministers than that came up and talked to us for at least a little while, including a good friend, Greg Rickford, who's the Minister of Indigenous Affairs and Northern Development. And we're working with him on a couple of projects too. So he and I had a great chat last night too. So.
Very good.
Perfect.
Now, while I was away, there was a bit of a tragedy that happened over on Hiawatha.
Yes. We had a building come to the point where it was going to collapse, and the tenants in it were just evacuated for safety, and we really couldn't do much more with them. Our building department was involved, our fire department was involved in the, hey, what can we do? But the emergency team clicked right into place to make sure everybody was safe. But many of those people lost their belongings, lost and their place to live. We, our housing department, our social services department, and Red Cross and victim services went to work right away on trying to at least get them into temporary homes, Comfort Inn to begin with, and then what can we do next? But our good friend Chico, one of our favorite local musicians, is decided to put on a fundraiser on the 27th, Saturday the 27th, at the St. Thomas Anglican Church. I think that's where it is. I think that's where it is. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. Quick, Grayden will look it up. We'll look it. But Chico's also reached out to Stephanie to make sure Stephanie and I are there, and that perhaps Stephanie also is an entertainer for that night. So, look, there'll be lots of raffles, lots of draws and ways to fundraise, and a great kind of musical night too.
It's But they don't have the location of the benefit.
We'll make sure we put it up on established media afterwards tonight, because I have it somewhere in my phone too. But it makes for terrible when both of us are sitting here.
Yeah, it's called Digging Your Hearts.
Let me look it up. No, you look it up.
Heals Benefit. That's the name of it.
Right.
But yeah, all right.
Right.
So make sure you check that out.
Right.
We'll put the link in.
Right.
Dig in your heels.
Dig in your heels is the name of the event.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Somebody mentioned that maybe there's some other buildings around town that have similar issues, and there is, and we not to that degree, but we want private ownership of these buildings to help us help them. And in this case, when it came to, at the end of the day, this building was not going to stand. The building owner agreed and said, "Yep, let's take it down and we'll start fresh." So. Somebody invests a lot of his own money in buying a building, and an older building, and then tries to fix it up, and it doesn't go well, and then this is what we're faced with. And now I don't want the financial loss he has, nor do I want the inconvenience of the people who are living in the building. Right?
And let's be thankful too that no one died.
That's it. That is right. Like, St. Thomas Anglican. Hey, I was.
There you go.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's on Flora Street. No, it's not. Where? I know how to drive right to it, but what
I know
street
where
is
it is, but I don't know the name.
That's where it is. Come see us that night and sing along and dance and earn some money. All right. We want to remind you that the Horton Market is still operating Winter Market every Saturday. You don't have to get up quite as early.
No, 9 o'clock.
You can stay a little later.
It goes till 1.
Right. 9 to 1.
Now, we were talking about rodents of unusual size.
Oh yes, we have something we're going to try. If you remember us, Grayden and Jess and Lil and myself and Stephanie and Chris and Jamie, all last year went up to Wyerton to go see Wyerton Willie and the Groundhog Festival, right? And we came back with great ideas of things you should do at a Groundhog Festival. And then what happened this summer, as we're opening up Westlake Evans Park, I'm pointing right out behind City Hall, that great, beautiful park that's there, the mural on the wall has a beaver, and it has a groundhog.
Yeah.
So we thought, how about February 2nd, we all get up pretty early this year and go see if Thomas, I've named him Thomas, if Thomas the groundhog can see his shadow, right? Or not see his shadow. And the mayor will help him with the prediction, just like the mayor does up in Wyerton. And so we'll start small but mighty this year. Come join us. Look up when sunrise is on February 2nd. And come on out to St. Thomas's own Groundhog Day with Thomas the Groundhog. And we'll see if we can't get that onto the national news.
Big question.
Yes.
Are there going to be fireworks?
There's not fireworks at ours this year. We're starting small.
Yeah.
We will see what we can do with a group out with the appropriate amount of internal antifreeze to make us not too cold on February 2nd. And we'll have our very short but sweet groundhog event. And then we hope that attracts a committee of volunteers for next year's Thomas the Groundhog event right in Westlake Evans Park with maybe some sort of fireworks or other things that could happen. There's also a free breakfast that happens in Wyerton. That's something else we could plan and look forward to. So
I think that'd be incredible.
Yes.
Speaking of small but impactful, did you watch the New Year's video from the Beehive?
I did.
The ball drop.
Yeah.
The most uneventful yet impactful and funny video.
Yeah.
One of the funniest videos I've ever produced. So if you haven't watched it, like skim past all the drone footage of all the stuff if you want to, but like watch the ball drop. Because that's the first year and it's just going to get bigger and better from there of the same kind of caliber. Like anyway, check it out.
And you were in Australia for New Year's this year.
So
where New Year's seems to hit first, right from the international day.
Sydney fireworks, unrivaled.
Right over
I haven't
top
seen
of the
anything
Opera
like
House,
that.
and we always watch that. And I timed it just right to message Grayden right at midnight on New Year's. It was 6 o'clock the morning before in Cancun, and we were preparing for our polar bear swim.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But because you're supposed to go on a polar bear swim on January 1st, right?
That's the place to do it.
Yeah, Cancun is far better than the polar bear swim that our police officers are doing in the next little while. So,
but that's a great fundraiser.
Oh, it is a huge fundraiser, and it's happening at Rail City Brewing this year.
Oh, fantastic!
Right? So go on out and help them, but we'll share more ideas with it. I'm spending Thursday morning with Josh Taylor, the mayor of London. He's doing his State of the London event, State of London event, and this will be about the fourth, all through of all of it Holder's term, and now Josh going over to have breakfast with the mayor and about 400 other people to hear what London's doing, and I think it's important for the mayor of St. Thomas to know and how we can help and what's going on near us too.
Now you're doing a State of the Union address for
Mayor's
the chamber.
luncheon.
Yeah.
Yes. Myself and Mayor Sloan and Mayor Jones from Southwold are. I think it's February 15th.
Something like it's sold out already.
It's sold out. You can't get a ticket. Not with those great speakers. What do you think? But we're having, and so it will be filmed, and we will share pieces of it. And certainly that's I think a Wednesday. So the night before we'll share some of what Mayor Preston's speech might be. It's, the state of St. Thomas. Right?
State of the municipality.
Yes. Right.
Josh Morgan says Brett Longfield, Mayor of London. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's and Josh and I have become pretty good friends. And I had invited him to Sports Spectacular last week, but he couldn't make it. He was quite a Kansas City Chiefs fan, so he really wanted to come, but his son had made some traveling soccer team or something, so he had to go that instead. But I want to point out what a great time I had, and you should have seen the half asleep Grayden at you fly in from Australia in time to get to Sports Spectacular.
Flew in the morning, and they'd asked me to take some photos there, and I was like, I can't guarantee anything because international travel, you never know.
That's right.
So it got in at like 7 a.m. into Toronto, and then Jess and I and Lily, we drove through the blizzard to get home.
Right.
I took like a 2-hour nap.
Right.
And then
there you were. What a fun night I had. I got to sit with the two athletes of the year. Right?
Oh, incredible speakers.
Becky and Bradley. Bradley's the best comedian there is, and I thought I was funny. So I'm sitting beside Bradley, who the athlete of the year, and Becky both gave great speeches. Yeah. And on this side is a real stand-up comic, right? Yeah. And so I had a really special night. A couple of our police officers at our table and a couple of Western football players at our table. But could not have a better night than the St. Thomas Sports Spectacular. So kudos again to the whole team that puts that together and makes it happen. I even spent a little money at the auction. So there's some fundraising. So, yeah.
And thank you for that.
Well, what do we got? Any other questions in here?
We've got Brett Longfield is saying, it's not a question, but it's saying, set your alarms.
Oh, for Groundhog Day. Oh, no, you'll have to get up early because we'll be standing out there and it will still be dark, waiting for the sun to rise over. Okay, sun rises in the east. So the sun will be rising over the new child care center in order to see if the groundhog can see a shadow or not.
Yep.
Yep, that's where we'll be.
And the Anglican Church is on Flora Street.
It is on Flora. Wow. I should just go with my gut, and I was right.
I only know the main artery. It's like bands. If I hear it, they'll be like, "Oh, do you know this song?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know that song." They're like, "Oh, who's the artist?" I was like,
"I don't know. I just know the
good
song."
Luck trying to figure that out.
Yeah. I should go with exactly what I thought when I first. Because it's Journey. Don't stop believing.
Yeah.
Right. I just made that up.
But it's the same with streets. I just I know. I'll just go the general direction.
I can drive to it.
Yeah, I find my way there. But don't ask me the name.
I did that with Councillor Herbert this week. We may end on this line. Come pick me up, and because I was driving to Roma. Well, where do you live, Jim? Well, at the top of the hill. I said, do you have an address?
Like which hill? Like any hill in Elgin County? Or like
I knew what hill he was talking about, and I don't want to give away his address. But he said, I'm the first driveway at the top of the hill. I said, is there a number near that? Yeah, okay, I'll send it to you, he said. You modern people who always want numbers. Right?
I need that kind of information. Otherwise, I'll end up
especially
somewhere.
Across Elgin.
Oh, speaking of Australia, all the streets. We were on Victoria Street in Sydney, but there are a million Victoria Streets.
Of course there is.
So we had to put it in, and you're like, what?
Oh, that doesn't help. How am I going to get home?
Yeah. Right. Oh, my goodness.
Hopefully your Uber driver knew which Victoria Street you were on.
We can't take an Uber because Lily needs a proper child seat.
Oh, no, that's right. So you can't just take a child in an Uber.
Way more complicated than I thought to get around.
Yeah. Well, I guess you just had to stay in and drink good Australian beer.
Yeah. Beer, very expensive over there, by the way.
Yeah.
Was not aware of that.
No, I should have pre-warned you on that one too.
Yeah, it's like twice as expensive.
Yeah. Cost of living went up here in Canada, but not on beer.
No, nowhere near the same amount. But the beaches there are incredible. What they don't tell you, though, is about the bats. When you're in the city in the evening,
as it gets dusk,
they're all there. Yeah. Hundreds of bats.
Right.
But
the beaches are beautiful. Bondi
gorgeous. Beach, absolutely gorgeous. Still, the sharks are still there. There were shark warnings.
I'd say the beach is beautiful. I didn't say I went in.
I dipped my toes in, but I didn't go too far.
I have a problem on beaches, because if I go in the water, a bunch of kids grab me and drag me back up on the beach and said, clean out his blowhole. Right? Yeah. Okay, that's my kids at the beach story. All right, we're nearing our end.
Near and dear. All right. This has been great. A great return. Hopefully the audio has been good on this one, not like when we're on the other side of the world.
We're back here at good internet at City Hall St. Thomas. We hope that works for us.
Yeah, thanks to all the tech people for making that work. Yes. Really appreciate that. There's going to be, as the mayor said, there's going to be more information about those hydro lines next week, along with a bunch of other stuff we can't tell you this week.
We can't. Should we say we have guests maybe next week?
Yes. United Way will be in next week. So the first segment, we'll talk a little bit about the projects that they've got going on, which are always amazing.
Yep.
And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy.
Stay warm. Shovel your sidewalk.